Wait a couple minutes more. Ben's not here yet, right?
Not yet. I will make sure he got the convenience email I just sent with the meeting link.
Doug Rushton is here in duplicate.
I'd like to know how you did that, Doug. Having two of me sounds convenient.
Maybe is it because he's using his phone also?
Yeah,
well,
that's
he's
possible.
unmuted, so we'll never know until he unmutes.
He'll be twice as quiet.
Well, I've got really poor connection, and it wouldn't load, and it wouldn't load, and it wouldn't load, and then it decided to load twice, I guess. I don't know.
You sound really clear, Doug.
I'm trying to.
All right. Well, it is 5:30, so let's get started. I'll now call the October 22nd, 2020 Thurston Conservation District Board meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. For the record, we have 4 supervisors today, namely Doug Rushton, David Ayal, Helen Wheatley, and myself, Betsy DeVreda. We also have our Executive Director, Sarah Moorhead. Has our legal counsel showed up yet? Yes. Ben Cushman is here from Deschutes Law Group. Our administrative assistant, Leah Kellogg, is here. Jean Fike is here from the State Conservation Commission. There are a couple people that I just have a letter or a picture and I don't know who they are. Does someone want to help me out? RB.
If they're members of the public, they don't need to introduce themselves.
Okay. And is that Elena that I see? Is Elena here?
Yes, that's me. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that other than from the public that I haven't introduced?
And anyone from the public who wants to introduce themselves can do so at this time. They just don't need to.
Okay.
We have Robin Buckingham from NRCS.
Okay, oh, that's the RB. Okay, great. All right. So thank you. We are audio recording this. And now that we have introduced ourselves, we'll move on to item 2, which is the agenda review. Does anyone have any additions or concerns or changes to the agenda?
Betsy, if I may clarify, this is Elena again. I am a non-water quality specialist from the Department of Ecology. I am not here as a member of the public.
Yes, I knew that. I should have said it though. Thank you, Elena.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, any comments on the agenda? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
So moved.
Helen moves, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, a second from David? So we will vote. Helen, how do you vote?
Aye.
David?
Aye. Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And I vote aye. I did forget to mention that TJ will not be attending this meeting. I meant to say that in the introductions. Okay. So I would ask that you mute yourself if you're not talking. I'm getting a little bit of weird sound in the background. And sometimes that causes it. So moving on to the third item, which is the consent agenda. Item A on the consent agenda is the approval of the September 24th, 2020 board meeting minutes. Item B is the September financial report. Item C is the TCD resolution number 2020-09, titled the Independence Valley RCO application authorization, and the accompanying RCO agreement, item D, which is 20-1905, entitled the Independence Valley ASRP project development. Item E is the TCD resolution number 2020-10, titled Riverbend Ranch ASRP RCO application authorization, and the accompanying agreement is item F, numbered 20-1908, Riverbend Ranch ASRP project development. Is there any discussion regarding this? Actually, sorry, I'd first ask for a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve today's consent calendar.
Thank you, Doug.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
That was actually David that made the motion.
Oh, okay.
David made the motion.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
He was faster than me.
All right. Is there any discussion? Okay. I did want to discuss some of the things that Sarah delineated in her email. And she and I talked about it a little bit, that I was concerned that there were some acronyms in the contracts or the agreements that weren't spelled out. And she thought we might be able to just ask them to do that as sort of a friendly amendment or something. I don't think we need to stall approving it.
I found a typo.
I also noted the need to spell out the acronyms, and also the typo where Thurston was misspelled. And I would make, I guess, an amendment to approve as with those minor changes.
I think so. I'm actually unclear. Since it's a consent agenda, do we need to take these off the consent agenda to continue this discussion?
Probably,
so.
but I think that you could approve the consent agenda with separate direction to staff to make clerical changes to the document. I don't think that requires formal action. That's instruction to staff that can be done without formal action on the agenda. So you can do it either way.
Thank you, Ben. Well, I'm okay with that.
Yes, they're not substantive changes.
Okay. So let's move forward then. I'll call for a vote. David, how do you vote?
Aye.
Helen?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, thank you. Item 4 is the time for public comment. Is there anyone there from the public that would like to comment? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Hearing none, we move on to item 5, which is partner reports. And Dean from the Conservation Commission the State Conservation Commission is here, so enlisted first, so go ahead, Jean.
Oh, I have a number of updates and reminders, but I also have with me a letter that those of you who are at the Southeast area meeting might have heard. I wondered, Madam Vice Chair, if it would be all right for me to read that into the record.
Sure.
Right. The Conservation Commission is pleased to recognize Thurston Conservation District as the 2020 Southwest Area Conservation District of the Year. The district has built an excellent staff and an accomplished board that is well respected by the community. Having secured rates and charges funding, Thurston CD has developed a wide range of programs and services to meet the needs of the vibrant and diverse communities and landscapes they serve. Their programming ranges from traditional farm planning and cost share, technical service provision under the Voluntary Stewardship Program, and habitat restoration of multiple types, to green stormwater infrastructure, conservation education, and technical assistance. Their online technical assistance has become wildly popular, and they are taking on climate adaptation and working lands preservation. As the pandemic disrupted traditional markets and food systems, they worked with producers to connect them with consumers in new ways. They developed and shared rigorous safety protocols so that they could continue to offer their poultry processors safely. They work with and support their fellow districts, build and strengthen partnerships, and prove themselves to cooperators and constituents every day. On behalf of the Conservation Commission, I am pleased to recognize your excellent work with this 2020 Southwest Area Conservation District Year of the Award, and it is signed by our Executive Director, Carol Smith. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you. Our staff has worked really hard. I'm really proud of what they have accomplished since the pandemic began.
So you should be.
Yeah.
So I'll send that. Yeah, I'll send that to the note taker so she has the full text if she'd like to put that in the minutes. With that, I have a couple of updates and then I'll take any questions. I'm so sorry. I'd like folks to hold, if they can, the date of November the 21st. I see that you have on your agenda discussion around elections. I wasn't sure if that was, this season's elections for Thurston or the broader topic, but there have been some very interesting conversations happening around CD elections and what comes next and what might happen in the upcoming legislative session. And I want to make sure that folks avail themselves of the opportunity to participate in those conversations. They've been really interesting, really wide-ranging. I've heard a whole range of perspectives, and folks have offered new ideas, and those have been brought into the process. So, the earlier the better that folks engage, I think, and the next opportunity is slated for November the 21st. I'll attach again the recording of the last conversation to my follow-up email, so you have that to kind of prepare. And then if you have any questions as you're thinking about all this stuff, please feel free to call me. I'm not the elections expert for the commission. He's on medical leave, but I know a little bit about how a lot of these options sort of came into the conversation, and I can provide you with a little bit of that background. Also, as you know, the decision packages fact sheet from the commission are out. So if you're talking with stakeholders, you're talking with legislators, encourage you to include those. There's a form for support letters if you're looking for that as well. And then, of course, the end of the month, as you know, is the deadline for responding to the survey on WDFW's request to be included as a full voting member of the commission's governing body. So if you've not participated and would like to, you have a little bit of time left. Are there any questions that I can answer or any other information you might be looking for?
Okay. Thank you very much, Jean. That was great.
You're most welcome.
All right, item B is a report from Doug Rushton on the WACD.
There's nothing to add in addition to the written report I gave or submitted, so it's in the board packet. Work continues on the strategic plan. Work continues on setting up the annual meeting, the virtual annual meeting for the week after Thanksgiving. And I would urge everyone on the line to subscribe to the WACD 5 Things to Know, which you can do on the WAC website. That's basically a newsletter that's given out every Thursday and provides a whole lot of information on not just WACD, but generic stuff. And also that's where I submit my NACD stuff too, so it's all in one place. And that's my WACD report.
Thank you. And I just would like to say that your reports are great. Thanks for that. It looks like you put a lot of time into them.
I'm glad you find them useful. For the NACD report, I'm particularly interested in hearing Robin Buckingham give my report. So that should be good, Robin. Go, buddy.
I think I'll leave that in.
That was
your
a joke,
report.
you guys. Come on.
I couldn't hear it.
That
Yeah,
sounds good.
Doug, can I ask something?
The
Just
agenda
real quick.
was, yes.
I'm just this the Pacific meeting for November 3rd. Do you know anything about that, or should I
Yeah,
just go look it up?
Well, that's all we have for right now. I set the agenda, so if you have specifics, I'd be glad to get it in there. We just started that thing. I initiated that about 2 months ago. So we'll see what happens with it. We've only done one session. And what was going on was when we'd have our Pacific region meetings, there would be like 5 people at them. But at the first conference call we had, the first webinar Zoom meeting, we had 28 people there. We had people from Guam and American Samoa, plus on the west coast of the mainland. So it was really pretty productive, and I got high hopes. The only other thing I'd say about the NACD is there's going to be a meeting of the executive committee of WACD on Tuesday, the 27th of October. And they're supposed to be making a decision on when the NACD annual meeting, it's the 75th annual meeting of NACD, so it's a pretty big deal, is going to be in New Orleans, and whether that will be virtual or in person, and that's February. So stay tuned for that. I'll provide information as soon as I hear. And if there are no questions on NACD or WACD, I will listen to the ecology report.
Thank you, Doug.
Welcome.
Elena, take it away.
Thank you. So we have not received any ERTS complaints in the last month that pertain to the district, which is probably a good sign. However, I do continue to work with our local partners, including our local health departments, as well as I've worked with Renee, sorry, not Renee, Karen, a couple of times, my apologies, in order to identify sources of pollution and to prevent and correct those sources. I also have been beginning to ramp up efforts in order to produce a mailer that is a joint effort in part with the local health department in order to target areas of pollution that involve specifically bacteria pollution from E. coli or fecal coliform. Due to some snags with our unforeseen issues pertaining to COVID-19, this timeline has been backed up a little bit, but we are still underway with those. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Elena. Robin Buckingham from the NRCS.
Good evening, everybody. Apologies, I turned off my speakerphone instead of unmuting myself when you were taking roll there, Betsy. But technology, gotta love it. Just a few short updates this evening. Of course, our application sign-up period rolls on until November 20th. I've already got 20 potential applicants in thus far for the county, so that's pretty great. have been working with TCD staff more directly about building good bridges between our respective programming and just trying to support each other as much as we can there. So met with the staff this morning, going to get out in the field with them in the coming weeks to see if any folks will be a good fit for our programs or just how we can collaborate. So that's been great. And then one unfortunate note is that some of you may have known Tara Donahoe over here at NRCS. She was the soil conservationist, and she left NRCS 2 weeks ago now. So if you are looking for field staff for NRCS in Thurston County for the foreseeable future, that will be me. We will probably try and hire back the soil conservationist as soon as we can, but it can take some time. So please do direct any inquiries to me unless you need the area office for any reason. And that is all I have on my sheet here, unless folks have questions for me.
I have one comment, Betsy.
Yes.
I will just share that I've been working a lot with Amy Hendershot, who's our district conservationist, about seeing how we can partner both in outreach and implementation of NRCS and CD programs, but just work more closely together so that we can make a bigger collective impact. And I am so excited that Robin is here and he's really making that connection. He was participating in our staff's tech team meeting this morning. And I just am really excited to have him here in this capacity and this really strong interest in partnering with districts. Surprise, surprise, huh? So anyway, it's something that we've been wanting between our entities for such a long time. And Robin, you're a great bridge. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
All right. Good to hear. Okay, let's move on to item 6, the draft 2021 Thurston Conservation District annual budget. Sarah, you want to take the lead on this?
Yes, and let me unpause my screen so that I can get the right document up in front of you, which apparently is going to take another second. Sorry about that, folks. There we go. Push the right button. So this version essentially just made the changes and corrections that were recommended by the board or directed by the board when we went through this at our work session. I think most specifically, don't get seasick as I'm scrolling, I apologize, is the split between the different types of savings, reserve fund and the Conservation Education Center savings plan. So there was a recommendation to split those more evenly and invest in both. And so we did that here. So this again is the most current version of the budget. And I have not heard to date any additional feedback from supervisors on this draft since it went out in your board packet last week or otherwise past the work session, unless there is other interest for discussion or direction from the board to make changes. This draft is ready for consideration. So that would be my question back to the board is, are you happy with the budget as it stands here? Is there anything else that we can, any questions we can answer or any additional revisions that you would like to see?
I'll say that I'm happy with the budget. I'm wondering, did we do any outreach and did we receive any public comment on it?
We have not done a public comment process associated with this version of the budget. I know that that's a discussion that we had last year as we were developing the budget is having a process that engaged public comment. We're at a place that if the board is comfortable with this budget, we could do a public comment period because we are, it's October, so we still have some time if the board wanted to do that and make any further adjustments potentially before adoption at the end of this year. We have not to date.
What's your recommendation on that? I mean, I can see pros and cons.
I think that that is definitely a conversation for the board about how you'd like to do process. Certainly, this has been a topic that's been advertised in our agendas throughout the last couple of months as a topic that the board is discussing. So there has been that element of opportunity for public engagement. I'm feeling really good about where we're at time-wise. It is only the end of October, so if the board did want to do a short public comment period, we would still have time to receive that public comment and then for the board to consider it and still approve this. Perhaps something to consider is a little bit later on in our agenda this evening is a conversation about our November and December meeting schedules. That might be a factor in making your decision tonight. I think either are great options.
Any comments from Helen or David about the public requesting public input on the budget?
Well, I'm not sure if it's something that we need to do. If we do, then we, like Sarah says, we have the time. I'm fine with that. If it's not a necessity, I would be fine with just approving it, I think.
Helen?
I echo that, although it might be a good, a good way to, since it's so easy to read and transparent, to see how that plays. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sensing that there are profound changes or anything that, any attention really needs to be called to. So I'm sort of fine going either way too.
Betsy, can I make a friendly recommendation?
Sure.
An option also to consider is if the board would like to approve the budget, at this time, is that in the development of the annual plan moving forward, this would give us the opportunity once the budget is set to then start focusing on developing our annual plan for next year. That might be an opportunity that is easier for members of the community to engage in because we're talking about real impact and work on the ground versus budget figures, which I don't think translate to the majority of people into actual work. They don't really see what the round numbers mean, but that's the job for the annual plan. So that might be a more appropriate or more accessible place to engage about a public comment period.
Are you comfortable with that,
I
Doug?
concur. I think, yes, I am. I'm thinking if we do put it out for 2 weeks or a month, we're probably not going to get any comments anyway, frankly. But I think in this era of need to be accountable and transparent, I think we should make the effort, although I don't think we will get any comments.
Thumbs up on that.
I agree.
All right. So does this require any kind of a vote right now, Sarah?
Yeah, if the board is comfortable with where the budget is at this point, the board can certainly take action if they wish on this tonight.
I'll motion to approve the 2021 proposed budget.
Okay. David moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Second, Doug.
All right. Thank you, Doug. I'll call for a vote. David, how do you vote?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Helen?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we have approved the proposed 2021 consolidated budget for the Conservation District. Thank you.
See how much we get done with you leading us, Betsy?
Oh, I appreciate your vote of confidence. Can I have a first and a second for that? Okay. Moving on. It's a group effort. So moving on to item 7, the COVID-19 update. Yay. Sarah, what do you got?
All right, pulling that up on our screen. We had a conversation about this in the work session. Our current sort of return to work protocol incorporates a bit of the field work and site visit piece into it. However, in adhering to that protocol and utilizing prior written communications that I shared with our staff to give to landowners while they were in the field, they really found that there were a couple of items to be more specific about in terms of conducting in the field and sort of the expectations that the district has of the staff and communicating those to landowners, whether that be doing field work on projects or having site visits in the field. So this protocol for site visits and field work looks really similar to our return to work protocol section, but just includes a little bit more detail about how to conduct site visits outdoors, really striving for maintaining outside interactions or covered open air outdoor settings if possible, what to do if you are required to be indoors for any reason, and just those types of CDC guidelines that we're requiring, what to do if there are symptoms of illness, and being able to just have this document to communicate and send to landowners when our staff is scheduling those site visits, I think will be really helpful. And it will sort of replace a more outdated version of guidance when we were really referencing that essential business work during that first leg of the stay home, stay healthy piece. So that's the reasoning behind this. And I have not received any comments on this from anyone yet. Do we have any questions?
Well, I think it's good. It's, really clear and succinct. I had a few little typos and things. Should I just send those to you or just say them now?
Maybe if you want to run through them for the record, Helen, so everyone knows if they'd like to approve them with those corrections, can
Okay.
acknowledge what those are in the record. And if you want to just email those to me or email your version to me, then I can update them, unless the board would like to see them live changed.
Well, they're just real quick. There's like 3 of them that are real simple.
Is it easy for you to do live changes on this document, or?
Let me get the draft or the Word version up. I pulled it up in a PDF, so I can do that while Helen's sharing with us what those are.
Okay. Well, it's just under the heading all TCD employees, first bullet, just a grammatical thing. Site visits should be conducted primarily outdoors. So switch the primarily and the conducted.
Yeah.
And then on the next, it looks like 6 feet. I don't know if you want a space between the 6 and the feet.
We need a 6-foot space between them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
proper social distancing between those. There you go. And then I This is yeah, I don't know. This is just a silly English kind of question, but the very last sentence on the next page, or second to last, thank you for your patience and resolve. I would put a comma after the resolve, because I got kind of confused and thought it was a verb at first, that we were resolving something.
I could take that part out and just put thank you for your
Yeah,
patience.
that's
too.
good. Yeah, that's good. That's it. Real minor stuff.
I'm happy to see someone else picking up the typos. Go Helen. Okay. Oops. Did I do that? Oh. Do we have a motion to approve this document?
I will move to approve this document with the changes that Helen suggested.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we're voting to approve the protocol for site visits and field work for the Conservation District. Doug, how do you vote?
Aye.
Helen?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. It's another unanimous decision. Thank you. Okay, so
I'd like to say thank you to Sarah for being on top of this stuff and updating it as necessary. Thank you for being there.
My pleasure.
I don't know how she does it. Item 8, governance. So the first item is the 2021 election discussion and update. Where are we at with that, Sarah?
Yeah, this one will be a fairly brief discussion because we're still working with Thurston County on a lot of this stuff as they're, of course, approaching Election Day. Their staff have been extremely busy. I thank them so much for making time to chat with us about our district elections. So we are still looking at timing for next year and really what might work best so that we can bring that back to the board with those options and, you know, clear timing options and clear method options attached to that. So we've been communicating with our seasonal staff that we hired in the past and also with Thurston County about other seasonal staff options, you know, folks that they've trained to conduct their elections, and as well about their actual internal staff, their permanent staff at the auditor's office to contract with. There is general interest in supporting the district from the auditor's office. So we're still looking at what time might be most accessible to them to be able to conduct those, knowing that they have their February special election potentially. We did a little bit of redistributing our workload on our staff side for the beginning of the year to make more space after plant sale in March, which I think was a suggestion maybe from you, Betsy, initially. And we had some follow-up that we were able to, from our plant sale, that we were able to sort of shift into other staff responsibilities on other plates rather than Nora's, who is our election supervisor. So that is also a potential now too, is looking later in March. So what are we waiting for at this point is our sort of last little bit of information follow-up from Thurston County Auditor's staff. And that is if we are looking at a post-plant sale March date, does that make a difference? Are they able to support that? They had some hesitations with a late January date being overlapping with their February special elections because the mechanism to vote in a conservation district election is so very different from these ballots that certain jurisdictions might be automatically mailed to vote in the February special elections. So they are going to follow up with us on a couple of pieces. And that is, one, are they going to hold any February special elections? That answer might not come to us until the beginning of December. So that we may have to move before that, depending on the date chosen by the board. Two, given either this January, late January date, early February date, or the end of March, are they available, and to what extent, with how much of a budget? So they're still doing some budgeting calculations on that. And then third is, are there other seasonal hires that have been trained by the auditor's office that are available during those dates? I mentioned that we checked in with the folks that we had last year that conducted our elections expertly. They're sort of the highest recommended, I guess, from the auditor's office. They said that given all of the work for this elections process, that January dates and maybe early February they would not be interested in. The auditor's office mentioned that there's a lot of heavy lifting in a presidential election, and that their seasonal staff would likely not be interested if our election were too early. So right now we're waiting to hear back from those folks. If we did a March election after plant sale, would you be interested in facilitating that? I know that there was general interest from the board initially in pursuing that option if it was possible first, given the pretty significant cost savings that we might experience, and given how well those folks conducted the election last year. So that's kind of where we're at. We're hoping to be able to wrap up this information gathering by the end of next week, and it's really unfortunately, it's just a hard time for the auditor's office staff right now in processing presidential election ballots. I know that they will have a lot more time to collaborate afterwards. Given that fact, we are running into our timeline. We'll need to look at holding the election, mid to late February or in March, just to give us enough time to process all of our pieces of paperwork that are required as part of facilitating an election. I think we're getting a little bit close to get all of our ducks in a row for any sort of January date. It's not impossible yet, but it is definitely getting close. Nora has already participated and attended in the commission's election supervisor training with all of the changes that will be taking place next year. So she's up to speed on that. And in fact, she is also participating in a panel discussion with Conservation Commission staff, I think it's next Friday, as an expert election supervisor. Sharing her experiences and just the stellar way that she conducts elections, and some of her lessons learned with other members, other conservation districts across the state. So that was a lot of information that I sort of shared in that update. Questions or thoughts or comments?
Helen, are you going? Go ahead.
Well, I guess the main question, it sort of sounds like, TJ isn't here, but of course he was trying to make the case for going later. Does it sort of sound like it sort of sounds like it's March would work best? It sounds like. That's fine with. I guess I would say it's fine with me. I know we've sort of talked about the timing pretty extensively at the work session, and if it sounds like that's kind of where it's going, and I guess if that's fine with you, and with everybody else.
Well, it seems like Sarah did say that they've figured out a way to get around the workload problem. That was the main hurdle with the March thing, coordinating right after the plant sale or around the plant sale, was it not, Sarah?
Yeah, that's correct, Betsy. It was, and more and more things are indicating that March is probably going to be the easier timeline for all of our support folks that assist us with elections, whether that be county staff or seasonal staff. So we've adjusted internally to accommodate.
I really like the idea of being able to promote the election through the plant sale. That's one benefit I see in doing it around the plant sale time. How about David and Doug? You have any input? Any thoughts?
I think it definitely sounds like waiting a little bit would be just fine. Probably easier and a better outcome. I agree with you, Betsy. I think if we extend it through the plant sale, we'll have probably a better outcome or better more people showing up to actually participate in the election.
Doug, any thoughts
This is
from
Doug.
you?
I concur.
Okay.
I concur.
Okay. So,
Good job, Sarah, starting it out.
yeah, I guess we'll just keep waiting, and maybe it'll be on the next work session. Maybe you'll know more, but we don't even know for sure what that date is. So we'll go ahead.
Yeah, we'll plan to bring to the next work session, hopefully, as long as we get our info from Thurston County. But what we're gonna strive for is to have a proposed date that'll be in March after plant sale, with sort of our timeline, looking backwards from that date, for ballots and cutoffs and that. Nora prepared sort of a draft one for you in the past, and so we'll update that based on that date, along with which of these mechanisms, one or both of them, are viable. So having county staff facilitate the election or seasonal staff, and then some budget, some actual budget estimates with that, which is going to be the hardest hurdle, I think, for Thurston County, just as in preparing that and making sure that they can provide us with that information by our work session date, given its proximity to the to election day. So, but that is what we're looking to propose and bring to the next work session for discussion, which will give us plenty of time to move on those at the November board meeting or even in the December board meeting.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm a little dubious
Question?
about having it ready for the work session, but go ahead, Doug.
Question?
Yes?
Sarah, what's the risk factor of the county bowing out totally and not helping with this election based on their workload and not having staff and all that?
They seem to think that that was not a risk this year, that they were really interested in wanting to support it. It was preparing for this year's presidential that gave them some, the presidential primary, preparing for that mixed with their special election. And then they had a special ballot initiative this year in 2020 as well around the courthouse. And that helping
Sarah,
that was their role this year.
Helen, are you hearing her? No. Sarah, we're not hearing you clearly.
She sounds like a poorly tuned guitar. My concern is
Okay,
to
she's
have a
going to call
contingency
in.
plan in place.
She's going to call in.
Yeah, I see the message.
So, oh, wait a minute. So she can answer your question.
All right, folks, I'm so sorry about that. Can you hear me on here?
Yeah, this is great.
I'm not sure how things change halfway through meetings. So apologies on there. But yes, to answer your question is that this was a unique year, essentially, with a lot of different sort of special elections things that coincided during our elections window, which is what made the county staff unable to participate. They did share that they wanted to support us next year. They were still fine-tuning to what extent they were able to support us. And hopefully we will also have a viable option with the seasonal staff, because that worked really well and was a fraction of the cost too. So I don't have any concern at this point that we're not going to be able to move forward with one, if not potentially both of those options.
Okay. Did that answer your question then, Doug?
Yeah, I think we need to have some thought given to having a contingency plan just in case, even if the risk is very low.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And not a lot of effort.
We can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to item B under governance, the updates from the Southwest Area WACD meeting. Sarah, are you going to present those? Or is Doug?
Doug, would you like to share about the resolution?
Sure. I was waiting for you to take the lead. Yeah, we had one resolution, the resolution for input from the conservation districts in a pilot project for regional managers, Conservation Commission regional managers. And the idea there is to have some more accountability. Not that there's any issues or any problems, but just some basis for the commission supervisors to be able to know how the regional managers are doing. And then in next year, for them to provide a report on how that worked and recommendations. They may recommend, don't do it. It's not worth it, or not.
So
Pretty simple in my mind.
Right.
Did it pass unanimously? Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, it did pass. Okay. Great. Anything else?
So other than our sorry, this is Sarah. So other than our resolution that passed, we gave a great presentation of sort of what we've been up to in this past year, and it was great to be able to revisit some of our accomplishments and some of the great progress we've been making. As Jean already mentioned, we were awarded with Conservation District of the Year award for Southwest Washington, which was also just a wonderful recognition of the hard work that the board and staff have put into our district and our community. There were a lot of other wonderful awards that were shared as well with some of the staff at other districts in Southwest Washington that we've had the pleasure of collaborating with over this last year. There were other resolutions that were put forth as well. One of them in particular was on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and asking WACD to explore providing more resources around that work for districts that would like to utilize them, and sort of at a statewide level, making sure that there are, again, just resources and tools available for conservation districts that they can implement in their own communities if they wish. And that resolution also passed. That was out of Clark Conservation District. Other than that, there was a focus on WACD dues and the way that dues are calculated. These resolutions were sent out, of course, from WACD prior to the meeting and are still on the WACD website if you'd like to see the full text.
Okay, great. I'm happy to hear about
The way the process works is the resolutions go from the regional meetings, the area meetings, to WACD. Sometimes when a resolution goes to the area meeting, they don't make it, like ours on the input to Conservation Commission staff last year. And that's not to say they won't come back again, but the process is they go from the area meetings to WACD, where they're voted up or down or modified, and then become policy or some sort of action by the commission or whomever the particular resolution is addressed to. It's kind of cumbersome, but the idea is it's a grassroots, bottoms-up effort. And Sarah did just a wonderful job representing us, giving the presentation on what we've been up to. It's just, I'm always amazed.
As we all are.
Thank you. Oh, you guys are kind. Thank you.
Okay, well, if that's all there is on the area meeting, let's move on to the letter that Helen put so much hard work into that's addressed to the TRPC on climate mitigation plan, on the climate mitigation plan. Helen, you want to lead this?
Oh, sure. So, so this one is aimed fundamentally at the steering committee. The public comment period is closed. I did double check and make sure that it was fine to go forward with this, and we're good. So yeah, the target audience for this really is the steering committee. They'll be meeting again a couple of times as they work on finalizing the draft plan. I thought of there were some errors in the draft plan, and I chose not to point those out or anything like that because they're well aware of those. So this is basically a letter supporting the fact that they, you know, thanks to some good advocacy and advising by the Conservation District, they have good language in about conservation. And the steering committee is very receptive to that. But the draft plan sort of had a little pushback and has language in it about balance, especially, you know, the need to balance conservation approaches with densification of urban areas. So this is, to my mind, partly an argument against that way of thinking. And that's why there's some emphasis on, or a lot of emphasis on, urban conservation, because there is language in the draft plan that talks about the need to balance between conservation and densification. So if you're wondering where that came from, that's why there's so much language around that. And from what I could see, TJ made one of the main substantive additions to it, where he wrote the paragraph, or most of the paragraph, about you know, plans are great, but make sure you plan to actually follow through on it, essentially, towards the end. I don't know if I have much more to say about it. I did notice one little typo in the 1, 2, 3rd paragraph. There's a parenthesis 1/2 of a parenthesis. So I'm happy to entertain questions or whatever.
Okay. I'll let Doug and David comment first. Either of you have any comments?
I really
Otherwise,
enjoyed.
send it on.
Oops.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think it's great. Looks good.
I know it's long-winded. Sorry, it's certainly it's a learning process. It's a little bit weird to try to write something, on a board like this. I'm used to kind of the more, you all sit down and dig into it, and yeah. So it's an interesting process trying to do something like this on a board. So
yeah, I'm sure. Doug, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, my comment was, let's finalize it and send it.
All right. Well, my comment is, I just had a couple questions. One, two, three. It's at the top of the second page, the end of the sentence, the end of the first paragraph. It says green infrastructure is a particular priority for youth. I'd just like to hear more about that. I mean, I know why climate change is an issue for youth. Is that what you're alluding to?
no, because it's all about climate change. And we can take that out if you think it's just sort of dangling out there without any context. But the reason that I put it in there is because one of the stated values that they were trying to draft this plan to was inclusion of a youth voice. Like that's one of their priorities. And so anytime that you can kind of, that's why I also have co-benefits in there, because
so
anytime.
They'll know why you brought that up. So they will know, it'll be clear to them. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then I just would like to, first of all, say, I can tell you put an incredible amount of time into this, and I think it's amazing. I think there's some places that might be either bolded or italicized or underlined. The places that struck me were on page 2, the paragraph that starts with fortunately. We do not need to wait for modeling in order to take action. That just struck me as a powerful sentence. And then, well, I heard TJ in the back of my mind in the paragraph that I'm sure he wrote, where it says, so page 3, the last paragraph.
Yeah. That's him, all right.
Yeah, maybe adding some emphasis there around the, however, often these plans have failed to have a meaningful impact due to insufficient political commitment and a lack of sustained financial resources. So I guess the next sentence might be the one that we would emphasize. We urge that when this plan is eventually adopted, somewhere in there you could choose. Or at the end, the top of the next page, that it not become yet another example of a good plan that ultimately made no difference. I mean, that just is like, that's a great sentence. And yeah, maybe that's the part that I would like to see italicized or bolded or underlined or.
Well, I would probably, for, just in terms of the politics of presenting this to the steering committee, I can see, I think it'd be good, maybe not to bold it, but to italicize, we urge that when this plan is adopted by the steering committee, I think it's a good idea to italicize that.
So be a little more, I can see where emphasizing the making no difference is sort of a negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great.
And if you put it in bold, it's like shouting at them.
Yeah.
Put it in italics, it's just bringing attention. I've got a suggestion for the first item you had, Betsy, on the green infrastructure is particularly priority for youth. I would put a comma after youth and say, as you've noted. as you, the TRPC, has noted.
Well, I don't know that they have drawn that out. I mean, maybe, that sentence is, I'm wondering if it's just kind of hanging out there. I'm wondering
It
if
seems
maybe
gratuitous to me, unless you refer back to what.
maybe we should just strike that sentence because it seems to be sort of just hanging out on its own. It either ought to have a more discussion, or maybe we should just cut it.
Well, you did mention youth at least once, if not twice, in
Yeah.
other spots. So
Yeah, let's just cut that sentence out.
okay. I don't know. I guess it's protocol that TJ signs this, but it seems like there ought to be some acknowledgement of your work. Anyway, I guess that's not how it's done.
How soon will TJ be back?
TJ should be back on Saturday, I believe. And if the board would really like to, I think we do have the chair sign a lot because of their position, and also just for efficiency, it's one person. But if the entire board would like to sign this together, I can make that space on the bottom as well. So we can have more than just the chair sign if the board would like to do that.
It's more powerful.
It is. I would encourage us to work up the margin so that I'm going to start choking, I think, so that all the signatures are on one page, not dragging onto a fifth page where you don't really look at them or see them. There's quite a large margin at the top. It looks like you can do that. Excuse me.
We can definitely work with formatting on our letterhead. And I have one additional question after you're done with this piece.
Go ahead. I'm going to mute myself a minute.
Absolutely. So my question is, we bolded this sentence here. Fortunately, we do not need to wait for modeling in order to take action. Since we italicized the section of emphasis below, would you also like to italicize this one instead of bold it, or do you like keeping this one bold?
Personally, I would either italicize it or just not do anything with it. Since it's not a, it's not an act, it's a call to action, but it's not quite a specific call to action like the other one that got italicized. So I'd be happy with it being either italicized or just not drawn out at all. But I think bolding would not be good.
I concur.
That works for me. Okay.
Great, thank you.
So, we wanted to vote on this tonight, correct?
Yeah, it needs to go, the letter needs to go out.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve this letter with the changes we've made now?
I'll motion to approve the letter.
Second?
I'll second. Second.
And Doug seconds. So David, how do you vote?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye. Thank you, Helen.
Helen?
You're very welcome, Doug. Aye.
And I vote aye too. Thank you very much for the work you put into this.
Well, thank you. I was nervous. I didn't know how it would play. I didn't know what I was doing or if it was appropriate. So I'm glad it all turned out well. Thank you.
Okay.
One of our jobs as supervisor is to not let each other be embarrassed.
Okay, so we're moving on to the, we need to discuss the meeting schedule for November and December. Thanksgiving and Christmas always get in the way. Our regular meeting would normally be on Thanksgiving Day. That's the fourth Thursday. Sarah and I were talking about that somewhere at a previous meeting, we had talked about moving the work session to the 5th of November, and then putting the board meeting on the 19th, but she's concerned that the financials wouldn't be prepared by the 19th. Then we talked about maybe having a special meeting later, which I thought would have to be probably Monday, November 30th, if we just wanted to vote on some things. Maybe it would be a shorter meeting. Sarah, did I sum up what we talked about? And then we'll get into December after we talk about this.
Yeah, I think that was pretty close. I am remembering, like you said, Betsy, that we had a discussion at a prior work session this summer about moving up the meetings a week. That is correct about the financials. We won't get the information in time to complete the report likely before that meeting date, or if it was that the financial report would be available maybe on the day of the meeting rather than a week ahead of time in your packets for you to review. In the past, just for new folks on the board, we've done a couple of different things in these months for you to consider. One is shifting these meetings up and maybe approving the financial report at the next monthly meeting. So we would approve 2 financial reports in 1 month. The other thing too is to have a special meeting, like Betsy said, in November, just to take care of essential business and canceling the regular business meeting and maybe having a lengthier regular business meeting in December. So we've consolidated them before, and then we've also just deviated from the schedule. We've made the December work session a special meeting to catch any business that we couldn't get to in November. So there's a lot of opportunities there, and we're happy to help with any of those. But yeah, the financial piece will not be ready before the 19th.
Madam Vice Chair, I would point out that the WACD annual meeting is November 30th through the 2nd, and that there's a Conservation Commission meeting on the 3rd, the Thursday. So that week of the 30th is pretty bumpy.
Betsy, are you there?
Betsy and Sarah, are you still there?
I said a lot of interesting stuff. You missed it. Next time I'll have my camera on and you can read my lips. Sorry. All right. What I said was, I was wondering about keeping the work session on the 12th if someone hasn't already scheduled something, because we did pencil in the 5th. If we agreed to stay with work session on the 2nd Thursday and then not have a board meeting unless something comes up that we absolutely have to vote on the week before Thanksgiving, we won't be able to vote on the financials, but we could have a board meeting on the 19th. And then, like Sarah said, we could approve the financials in the December meeting. And probably the December meeting will be a work session and a board meeting in one. Is that what?
I like
Go
that
ahead.
idea. That makes a lot of sense, having the work session on the 12th, sticking with our board meeting on the 19th, and then a consolidated work session board meeting for December to finish it up.
Any conflicts for Helen or Doug? Okay. One thing I will say.
No, that works better for me.
Okay. I need to say that my grandbaby's due in December, and depending on when and how much I'm needed and so on, does anyone else anticipate not being able to attend the December meeting? Because I wouldn't want to create a situation where we don't have a quorum.
I'm sure I'll be available all December.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, I'm good. No big travel plans here.
Okay. All right. Well, so what I'm hearing is we will schedule the work session for the 19th. Sarah, for the 12th. How about you, Sarah? Does that work for you? Uh-oh.
Yep, that works for me.
Okay.
I put it up here on the screen to make sure I have it correct.
Okay. Great. Okay. And then we'll have a meeting on the 19th, but it may be a shorter meeting. And then what about December then? I penciled in that we were going to have the regular meeting on the 17th and the work session. I don't know when I penciled it in, but that's what it says.
Yeah, that's what I had too.
The 17th isn't soon enough for the financials for December, right? So wouldn't we have to push those forward into January?
Yes, that's correct. Which we approve our year end at the same time, so this is not uncommon.
Okay. So we would meet on the 17th and have a work session and a board meeting. And I guess the time, we can determine that later, how long each meeting needs to be.
Yeah,
we tentatively said on that from 3 p.m.
Sorry, what, Doug?
We had tentatively said, I have in my notes, from 3 till 8 p.m.
Yeah, well, that's probably not going to happen. I mean, our meetings just haven't been that long anyway.
No.
Our board meetings are
Well, I
almost
think you
over
suggested
7.
that.
I did?
It doesn't matter. Let's set for what we need.
Well, I think we could say 3 till 7, and we definitely need a break in there. Maybe an hour or 45 minutes or something, but we can refine that in November at that meeting, correct?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that requires a motion and a vote, I believe, because we've changed the November and December regular meeting times. Who would like to move that we approve the November, December meeting schedule as put forth, which is to have a work session on November 12th, short board meeting on November 19th, and a work session combined with a board meeting or followed by a board meeting on December 17th.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Okay. Doug, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you. And the next item is the work session topic list for November. So can you bring that up for us, Sarah? Thank you. Does anyone shall I read it, or I will read it. We have the topic list review, staff presentation, which is to be determined, the board meeting minute review, the COVID health update, annual budget development, which is pretty much set. Are you taking that off, or?
Do we need that?
Oh, it's gone. I
I
don't see
thought
it.
we just approved it.
Yeah, that was a placeholder. I just removed it.
Yep, okay. We'll definitely need we'll see if there's an elections discussion, TCD policies and procedures update, executive director annual evaluation process, conservation and education center discussion, updates, announcements, etc. And November board meeting agenda development. Any additions or comments?
I have one comment, Betsy.
Yes.
And that is about this item here, the policies and procedures update. Staff has been working on making sure that updating our policies and procedures manual to reflect the collective bargaining agreement. And we are still working on that piece. I want to make sure that when we finalize that, there's enough time for Ben to do his sort of cross review of that. And I think that we are quickly approaching November 12th, and I want to make sure that Ben has enough time to do his review of that. So I wanted to share that this item may need to come to the board at the the December meeting instead of the November meeting. Now that we have our schedule a little bit differently, we'll be sending out packets about the same time as our November work session happens. At the December meeting, is that okay with the board there?
It's okay with me. Yep. Okay. It's okay to take that
Thumbs
off.
up.
Okay.
I'll put that over on the December parking lot list.
Okay. No, never mind. Okay, we do not need to vote on this topic list, do we?
No. And I'll send this back out again for review, and if there are any additional changes or revisions that the board has, we can update it before the work session.
Okay. Thank you. So now is your opportunity, Board of Supervisors, to give any reports you have on other items. Anyone have anything? Helen is leaning in.
Yes, I'm leaning in. That's right. Well, I just wanted to have people. I just wanted to say I watched a documentary on Netflix the other day. I think it's called "Kiss the Soil." I think that's what it's called.
Is it great?
Well, I think you'd be interested to know. I think it has the NACD featured in it,
Oh,
as I recall. So I think it's definitely worth taking a look at. Since it's easy, since I'm sure you're just sitting there trying to figure out as you're clicking through, what am I going to watch? I've seen it all before. So watch that one.
What was that called?
Kiss the Soil.
wait, are you saying it or kiss? Like
Kiss, like KIS. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought you were saying. Great. thanks for that. Anyone else? Okay.
Have
Sarah?
we done any reports on how we're doing to the county commissioners?
What was that? Have we?
Sorry, I was delayed taking myself off of mute there. Doug asked about report back and forth. Go ahead, Doug.
With the county commissioners, I mean, I think we need to beat our drum here that we're District of the Year for this area. And they need to know that.
Yeah, we have shared that with them actually. We participate in the South Thurston Economic Development Initiative meetings monthly where the county commissioners are present. And so that was part of our update this month. And promptly we had Commissioner Mentzer's office reach out to us asking if they can share this information and the letter from the commission on their social media platforms. So I said, as soon as we get it, I will send it your way. So yes, they are definitely aware and they are going to help spread the word about the recognition of our district.
Great.
The Phoenix has arisen.
I didn't quite catch that, Doug. I'm sorry.
The Phoenix has arisen.
Like Paul Pickett said, right?
It's true.
Is anyone else hearing Doug's voice the way I am? It slows down. It's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Doug?
I'm using a different computer today, so that might be part of it.
We'll get that computer trained. It's been fine. Okay. Anything else from the board, from the supervisors? Okay.
Good job, Betsy.
Oh, we're not done yet, but thank you. Sarah has her report to offer us.
Sure, I will keep mine fairly brief. We, as you know, welcomed a new employee this month. Her name is Yen. And so she is our new accounting assistant and has jumped in and just taken to supporting Susan right out the gate. So Susan is overjoyed and already planning on taking a vacation, which makes me overjoyed that she's able to do that. So we're very excited there. Our habitat specialist position is now closed. We got 18 wonderful applicants to that position and are having a really hard time narrowing it down. So we're in the process of scheduling first round interviews for next week. We're hoping to have all of our selection made by the following week. So we're going to try and move through the rest of that process as quickly as we can. As you guys are aware as well, one of our resource technicians has accepted another position at Pierce Conservation District. And so we will be promptly posting a replacement or a position announcement, recruitment announcement for that position to replace that position quickly as well. That will probably jump the line on our engineering position because we have ongoing planning work and projects and deliverables that position is responsible for that we need to replace sooner rather than later. Regardless, We are hoping to conduct all of our hiring processes and close them out before the end of this year. It'll be fun. It will be fun to welcome and train these new folks. And I'm really excited to see our TCD team continue to grow. That is my update for this evening.
All right, great. Well, you've got your hiring work set out for you. And I'm happy to hear about Yen. Tell Susan we're all happy for her that she's going to get a vacation.
I will.
Well, we have 10 minutes left. Does that mean we get to? No. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Okay.
I'd like to thank Leah for keeping the ship afloat with keeping us informed about the various things and the missive she sends to us. So thank you to Leah.
Yes, thank you, Leah.
I thank you. I really do well with positive affirmations. That really keeps me going, keeps my drive high, keeps my energy high. So thank you. I mean, you're welcome.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Thank you, David. Second? We're having too much.
I'll second. Just couldn't find that mute thing, but yes, second.
Okay. Let's take a vote on adjourning. David?
Aye.
Helen?
Aye.
Doug?
No, I'd rather keep meeting and keep doing this. Oh, aye.
And I will vote aye. Thank you all for a great meeting. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye all.
Good night.
Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween.